All right, Broncos country. Looks like we are live, and it is super wild card weekend. It used to just be wild card weekend, Colin, but now it's super wild card. Two teams with a bye. The Seahawks and the Broncos are awaiting to see who comes out of this big mess. Colum, overall thoughts, I guess, on this wild card weekend. These games look pretty good. Maybe one of them, and we'll talk about that one first, but maybe one of them looks like a little bit of could be a blowout, but otherwise it's a pretty good lineup, don't you think?
Certainly on paper, it is, Mike. It became super when the NFL added the additional playoff team and, made it more exciting. Hasn't always lived up to the billing, but this year you would have to say that the NFL looks more open than it has done on a number of occasions. There aren't the monsters
Mhm.
the that we've often seen, and I think every team will look at it. Maybe one or two, might take a little bit, more, but all things are possible. But yeah, it's a pretty solid slate of games this weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited for some of these games, and as a Broncos fan, a Broncos show, we definitely look at these games through the eyes of a Broncos show, and as a Broncos fan, but we have to try and stay a little bit neutral. There's going to be hopes and dreams when it comes to these brackets, but we do have to be realistic about, who's going to win these games, what that means for our team, and we'll probably start with one that I guess doesn't matter for us unless we get to the Super Bowl column, and that is this. This is the game I was talking about. The Rams are favored by. This is kind of crazy. They're favored by 10 points. They went 12-5. They have a quarterback who probably should be the MVP of the league, and going on the road to play the 8-9 Panthers. And that's the way the league works, right? So if you win your division, even at 8-9, you get a home game in the playoffs. So Rams against the Panthers, and the Panthers, I'm pretty sure, beat the Rams this year. So interesting matchup. Uh, I think I'll give just a quick thought on this, and then I'll hand it over to you. This is one of those games where I think the Panthers are going to be in a position where there's just one way to win this game. Um, like they're going to have to just go for it. They're going to have to let loose and just try and get all those big time plays, score some points. I don't think they can sit back and win this, hoping that it goes their way. I think they're going to have to go out and make something happen here, Colum. So what are your thoughts on this? The first game, 3:30 p.m. today, Rams at Panthers.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing I would say is I think that division winners getting a home game is a good thing, because I think ultimately, if you were to do away with that, then you may as well do away with divisions, right? There's a reason the divisions exist, and there has to be something for winning your division. I know there has been some chat about changing that and going purely by records, but I think there's something to winning a division. You're right in that the Rams would seem to hold all of the keys in this one, but let's not forget that the Panthers did beat the Rams earlier in the season. And that was kind of down to Matthew Stafford being uncharacteristically sloppy. I would tend to agree with you, Mike, that he probably is the MVP of the league, of the regular season this year. And I think we have seen time and time again that he can put a team on his back. He does, like, QBs throw interceptions, it happens, but he also makes big plays happen time and time and time again. He can be clutch. And he was a big reason the Rams won the Super Bowl a few years ago. If they don't make that trade for Stafford, I don't believe they win with Goff. For the Panthers, look, there's nothing to lose here in some ways, and I think that's probably their best shot. Is everyone expects the Rams to win, so for the Panthers, there's no pressure. I will note that David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, for some reason decided that this week he was going to let fire 6 more people. So he even when things are going right in Carolina, he makes some truly baffling decisions. I mean, look, this is to me though. While I think Stafford is the key to the Rams winning a Super Bowl, I think this game probably comes down to the Rams, running the ball, because they have a really good run game, and the Panthers just can't stop the run. So to me, if the Rams get the run game going early, this could become a blowout potentially. I mean, if you're a Broncos fan, right, the Carolina winning would probably be preferable, both for you would see them as less of a threat, and also just the sheer chaos that would kind of throw in. But I can't see it. To me, I just see this being the Rams. I think Sean McVay is a very good coach, and I think, like Sean Payton, he tends to get his teams peaking at the right time, and they have some guys coming back as well. So I expect them to take care of business, even though they are on the road.
Yeah, Matt Stafford just went off this year. He's got 46 touchdowns versus 8 interceptions, 4,700 yards passing. And I like that. It's crazy how balanced they are. They've got a 1,200-yard rusher, a 1,700-yard receiver, that being Puka Nacua. I mean, you can't deny like really any part of their game. They've got a double-digit sack leader in Young. Landman at linebacker, playing really well. It's crazy that they're second in the NFC West, but with a 12-5 record. They had a few hiccups there at the end of the season, Colum, and Seattle just didn't have those hiccups. They went 14-3, and that's what they're up against. I guess for me, I would love to see the Rams and the Seahawks end up playing in the NFC Championship game. I think that would be great theater. But I agree with you. I think the passing game might be a little more. I guess I agree that the rushing game will be important for the Rams, but when you got a 1,700-yard receiver and you've got Matt Stafford playing the way he's playing, I don't know that they'll throw the ball all over the field, but I feel like it could come into play where you could see. Now, this is a 10-point spread, which take that for whatever it's worth. That's just money stuff, and we don't deal in spreads here. We don't deal with betting, but they're heavily favored. I mean, I think on ESPN's matchup predictor, however that works, they're the highest by far at 73.5% to win this game. So this one has blowout potential. You have to agree with that.
Yeah, no, it certainly has the potential. It is the NFL at the same time, though, and you never know what might happen. But I think the Rams will. I think they would like to get off to an early lead, and I think they would like to run the ball. Of course, with Puka Nacua, with Devonta Adams, and with Stafford, you have the possibilities there, right, of the big plays. But they know that if they can win this, there are much bigger challenges ahead. I think they would like to take a Sean Payton-esque approach and, play a more vanilla game in this if needs be, and really keep those big plays and what you really want to do until you face, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Eagles, because those are big boy defenses. I don't think that the Panthers are there yet. I think the Panthers have been plucky. I think that Dave Canales has done a really good job there in year one. I think it's a really difficult place for anybody because of the owner, and I think he deserves kudos because I don't think the roster was in good shape. And he's got Bryce Young looking like an NFL caliber player. Like before this year, Mike, Bryce Young looked all at sea. He looked like he couldn't play in the NFL. Now at least he looks competent. And even if it does end up being one and done for the Panthers, I still think it's been a successful season given the mess that they were in before Dave Canales took over.
Yeah, I'm going to obviously take the Rams here. I think we both will. Rams are going to take care of business and move on in the playoffs. And let's see if they'll come down here. So where are we at? Is this the weirdest?
It could be. I mean, for the Seahawks will play.
This is all wrong. This graphic is all wrong. Did you see that?
The Seahawks will play whoever ends up being the lowest seed. So if it ends up being it could be the Packers or it could be the Rams. I mean, potentially, if the Bears were to beat the Packers, it would be the Rams against the Seahawks in the divisional round.
Yeah, I had a beautiful graphic that I stole and put up there, and as soon as I looked at it, I realized that whoever made it completely wrong. But we'll both take the Rams there, and then we'll move on to the I guess for me, one of the more interesting games. This is a game where you've got the Bears taking the division at 11-6. Green Bay at 9-7. They had Love hurt for several games. They dropped their last 4 games, I believe, which is crazy. But there was some context there. You had Love out. They didn't even play their starters in Week 18. They were happy to, once they were in the playoffs, to just stay where they were. This game it's interesting that the Packers are favored in this game on the road at the Bears. I believe they split this year. They both came down to kind of last minute plays. You got to hand it to Caleb Williams, who has had a solid second season in the NFL and has shown some of that clutch gene that we see in Denver from Bo Nix. He definitely makes some plays when they need to be played, and I think that might be what this game comes down to today. I think the Packers are actually a better team. Now, their defense has certainly suffered since the loss of what's his name?
Micah Parsons.
So yeah, since Parsons went out, their defense struggled, but I still think that this is a better team. I don't know that they can go on the road and beat the Bears, but interested to hear what your thoughts are in this game as we'll wait till 7:00 tonight to watch this one here. And I suppose you'll just catch up on it tomorrow since you're in Dublin. I don't expect you to be up all night, but what are your thoughts on this one, Colum?
Well, with jet lag, I may end up but this one is it's the weather is the thing to keep an eye on in this, because it looks like it could well be pretty cold, some snow showers, windy, and that it suits the running game more than the passing game, and I think Parsons is a huge loss there because he's not just a pass rushing talent. He is an all-rounder, and Green Bay have given up a lot of yards on the ground in his absence. And I think that's what you will very likely see is the Bears look to attack the Packers on the ground, and look to to run all over them if they can, especially given the injuries that the Packers have. On the flip side, I think you will see Jordan Love look to try to take advantage of a Bears secondary that you can get at, particularly in man coverage. Now the Bears are they get takeaways, right?
Yeah.
If there's one thing our Broncos haven't been so good at this season, obviously the got the pick six last weekend, but the Broncos weren't good at getting turnovers. The Bears very good at getting turnovers, so they need Love to ensure that he doesn't turn it over, because in cold weather, with the Bears having a two-headed monster in running back, they can just kind of wear you down time and time again. I do think the crowd will be up for it, you would imagine, given that the Bears have been starved of success. I think Ben Johnson has done a really good job there in his first season, especially because it started off so rocky. If you remember, they didn't get off to a good start. He had that kind of weird halftime interview. I think those interviews don't tell you anything anyway, but it just came off kind of awkward. But ever since then, he like, again, you have to learn on the job, and he's proven that he can. They've been pretty good. I think as a for the Broncos, in theory, would you fear either of these teams as much as you would fear the Seahawks, the Rams, the 49ers, or the Eagles? Probably not. But the Packers are certainly a team who can get hot. And in Ben Johnson, they have the Bears have a great play caller. I'm gonna say that the Bears run game and their turnover luck carried them in the cold. I'm gonna go for the Bears here, Mike.
Yeah, I think the Packers are obviously conditioned to play in that weather. I mean, they are from Green Bay. They do play in a lot of snow games. They're famous for their snow games. So I think the factors of weather could very well turn this into a running game, matchup. Jordan Love, though, he is good at protecting the ball. But so is Caleb Williams. So that's kind of a wash. And then the running game, Josh Jacobs apparently is healthy and ready to play. Says he feels better than he has all year. So he's up for this game. And he's right there with Swift for the Bears in rushing. So and Josh is a touchdown maker. He's got 13 TDs versus Swift's 9. So it could come down to the rushing. It could come down to weather, but I don't see that as a true advantage either way. I will say the Bears are 6-2 at home, so they have lost at home. I think it's gonna come down to heroics from Williams. It's gonna be a close game. Whether Williams can do his crazy stuff and light it up towards the end of the game, I think that'll be more of the difference maker for me. I'm going to go Pack here on the road. This is where maybe my bias starts to show up. I love the Pack. I like Love. I like Jordan Love. I think he's a a pro level quarterback. I don't know that he would be considered elite, nor do I think Caleb Williams is. It's too early for him, although I think he's having a great season. Certainly the more athletic, makes the crazy kind of throw stuff. He's dangerous. But if they can come up with some sort of plan to keep everything in front of them and prevent the red zone, maybe force the Bears into field goals instead of touchdowns. I think their last game was an overtime win for the Bears. So so on the 20th of December, they played Green Bay and won in overtime 22-16. They've lost 2 games since then. Now, I don't know I don't watch the Bears enough to know whether they were kind of resting or they were settled in, but the Lions put up 42 on them, or excuse me, the 49ers put up 42 points on them. And then that Detroit game, 1916, close game where they would have needed kind of a miracle play to win that one, and they didn't get it. So I'll take the Pack here. You'll take the Bears at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is let's check the little ESPN meter that we don't use. They have Green Bay at 54%. So kind of a coin toss game anyway. Who knows what's going to happen? I will be watching this one for my family and my friends. Obviously, I've said on the show before, a lot of Packers fans in my circle. So I'll be rooting for and picking the Packers in this game. Anything else on that one?
Just, I mean, what a kind of a classic game,
Yeah.
Packers Bears is kind of quintessential. I mean, you cannot tell the story of the NFL without those two franchises.
Yeah, and it's a conference game, which just Green Bay owned that division for so long, or that conference, and Chicago is now trying to stake their claim. They did win the North this year, so they have stake in that claim. But Green Bay, Chicago is about as historic and fun of a matchup as you can see. And Colum will take those pesky Bears, whereas the smarter and more savvy Carmelini will take Green Bay. Now, let's get into here's where it gets interesting for Broncos fans, guys. Bills at the Jags. This game, man, the storylines in this game, Colum. This is the noon game tomorrow. 12-5 Bills against the 13-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are 7-2 at home, and the Bills are 5-3 away. We're a long way from the Liam Cohen Duval press conference. He's kind of shown that he can get a lot out of this team, and he's ridden that us versus them small market team. Nobody believes in us thing. He's got the narrative with Josh Allen, with Mahomes out, and you've got, well, we'll see. We've got no Mahomes. We've got no Burrow. We're missing one other one too.
Lamar.
And no Lamar. Yeah. So, it's easy for the narrative to be, Josh, all your nemesises are gone. Is that a word? Nemesi are gone. If you can't do it now, when can you do it? Just a cool matchup. Big game, 6 versus 3. We could see the Bills next if the Chargers drop one to the Pats and the Bills take this game. This is our first potential opponent for next week. What are your thoughts on this game?
This, look, this is going to be fascinating for any.
This is the game of the weekend,
reasons.
right? This is the game of the weekend for me.
I think so.
Yeah.
I do think that Kevin Clark's assertion that if the Bills don't win, it's all on Josh Allen is somewhat ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. That's hot take.
Yeah, I don't know if people watching will have seen the Buffalo Bills injury report, but it has 15 players on it. Michael Carmelini, 15 players. Now,
is Josh Allen on it?
He is not.
Well, then don't worry about it.
Josh
Allen's got this
Superman.
Covered. He's Superman.
Unsurprisingly, Joey Bosa is on there. Ty Johnson is on there. Dalton Kincaid was limited, but was a full participant yesterday, so it is very likely to play. Same with Matt Milano. The interesting one, Matt Prater, well known to Broncos fans, he is questionable. In the kicking game, I think this in the playoffs, it's very interesting because Prater's got a leg, but my goodness, have the Jaguars found the kicker. The man with the now holding the record in terms of the longest field goal and the second longest field goal.
68 yards, is that right?
68 yards and a
Mhm.
67 yarder. Neither at altitude exactly, but that's something to keep a real eye on, right? Because if they end up with the ball last, I mean, if it is the case, that and remember the Jags are at home, so the reality, like, you're not talking about kicking in cold weather.
Mhm.
But like if it's a close game, the Jags get the ball, like they don't have to go very far to put it in his range, a guy who can kick a 68 yarder. So I think that is definitely something to keep an eye on. I'm a massive Josh Allen fan. I think he is an exceptional quarterback. I think, to me, in the league today, he's probably the closest that there is to an Elway.
Say it. Just
In
say it.
that
Yeah.
he has it all. He plays in the same way. He's reckless occasionally, but he's clutch. He's got all the physical tools. But he is 0-4 on the road in playoff games. And Buffalo hasn't won a road playoff game since 1992.
Where they have gone to the Chiefs, they've had to play some of the toughest places to play.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the toughest place to play. Jacksonville is not a huge home field advantage. Although this year the Jags have only dropped 2 at home, which is good for them. It's better for them. And I agree with your take on the kicker. If it does come down to a field goal, that's going to scare me. Like you said, the Jags are only going to have to march 15 yards to put them in field goal range if they get the ball. But I think we need to talk about James Cook and this rushing attack. It's not just Josh Allen this year. Cook has got 1,600 yards rushing this year. He's one of the best players in the league. Now I know that the Jags are 1-2 on rushing defense, so this is a strength on strength game, right?
Talk about a strength on strength game. The Jags haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher all season.
Yeah,
they will today.
They're going to tomorrow. They're going to tomorrow.
I think Cohen has tapped into something there, and I think everyone writing them off is a great thing. I mean, all the pressure coming into this game is on the Bills and on Josh Allen, and everybody's saying it. Even people who aren't the Ryan Clarks are saying, well, given that Mahomes is missing, given that Lamar is missing, given that Burrow is not there, really, this is the great opportunity for the Bills. I think, when Sean McDermott, I think he is innately conservative as a head coach, and I would have a big concern about that. I mean, the 13 seconds looms large. They should have won that game. I don't know, did they learn enough lessons from that? And Josh Allen can put the cape on. He's absolutely, I would not surprise me at all if the Bills were to win this, because he's capable of putting a team on his back. But he's really going to have to do it, because the Jags are a well-rounded outfit. They're good on both sides of the ball, and their special teams play is very good as well.
All true. I'm starting to get the feeling that you're just going to take every favored team this weekend, which is fine. You can walk your way through these picks by picking the better team, and I think maybe the Jaguars. In fact, not maybe. I don't think it's really that arguable. The Jaguars are at least playing better. They finished 8 straight wins, including one against the Broncos, finishing 13-4 atop the South. And then New England, of course, took the East with that 14-3 record. It's kind of hard to top that, but the Buffalo Bills still managed a 12-5 record. It'll be very interesting if the Bills drop this game. What happens to Sean McDermott and that front office? I think they'll clean it all out, and they'll go with Josh and they'll start over. Any last thoughts on that? I'm taking the Bills here. Don't care. I think the Bills, Josh Allen, Cook, go in there and show a small market team what a big market team can do in the playoffs.
I didn't even know that the Bill that who is favored in the games, but I am going to say that the Jags edge this one by a field goal.
Well, that would make sense. So, but let's keeping with our tradition here of going to the ESPN matchup predictor. It's basically 50-50. It's a coin toss. 49.3 for Buffalo, 50.7 for Jacksonville. Could be a close game. Taking the Jags, I think, is the smart play. But yeah, I can't do it. There's no way. Let's get into this one. Now, this on paper to me looks like an easier game to pick. But I don't know that I have a lot of people are picking the Eagles here. I don't know that I'm I guess maybe I'm just the anti-favorite. The spread is 6. Is that the 49ers are favored?
I'd be surprised.
No,
so
the Eagles are favored by 6. Excuse me, I just had to find it. So yeah, so my point is I think I might be the only one that thinks the 49ers might do some damage here. 49ers, third place in the NFC West. What a conference this year with Seattle and the Rams, but at 12-5, just like the Rams. So that was a tiebreak setting, and of course the Eagles won the East at 11-6 with Jalen Hurts doing his usual, not passing for a ton of yards, but protecting the football, except for I forget which game it was we watched this year where he was against the Chargers, I think, and they had the Chargers beat and then threw like 3 interceptions and 3 possessions or something. So it could get crazy there, and that's part of my belief why I think McCaffrey being healthy, he's their leading rusher and their leading receiver. If Purdy can get him the ball and he can stay healthy, I think they could do some havoc here. I'm seeing like a 24-17 win for the 49ers here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, up to a couple of last week, I almost expected the 49ers to be the 1 seed, Mike, because they were really in form coming into that game against Seattle. And then all of a sudden, the wheels really came off in that last game. They had been kind of so good for so long. After they lost to the Rams in November, they went on this fantastic run, and they were putting up points. I think they had 100 points in the 2 games prior to that Seattle game, and then
Chicago and the Colts, exactly 100 points between those 2 games.
And then they're at home to Seattle, and it's a battle for the 1 seed, and they could not get anything going.
Imagine that, a team that couldn't get anything going against Seattle's defense. I mean,
yeah.
The Seattle defense is a little bit better than the Eagles defense, Colum.
Ooh, Eagles defense in playoffs. Vic Fangio, they come alive, and they're nasty. Like, they are horrible. And that's what you need to be. I still think it is underappreciated how much Jalen Carter wrecked the Eagles last year. Wrecked the game for the Chiefs against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Like, he went out on the field, he told you that he was going to kick your ass. He kicked your ass. He told you how he kicked your ass, and he said, "I'll see you again in 4 minutes when I'm going to do the exact same thing." That's horrible. Like, when somebody tells you what they're going to do to you, and then they proceed to do it, and they explain how they did it, and then they're going to do it again. And they're mean, they're nasty. It's a horrible place to go and play, and that would.
Oh yeah.
But Kyle Shanahan and this 49ers team, they have guys who can do it. Like McCaffrey, could not get going against the Seahawks at all. I think he averaged 2.3, which for his standards was absolutely nothing. And even, getting the ball out of the backfield, it just wasn't working. That would be my, I suppose, my concern. I know that if they get going, then they can steamroll anybody. And I mean, this again, it is two teams. Trent Williams, he's hopeful to play, but he wants to play, because
he's got a hamstring, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of bad blood between these two teams, but he says he's hopeful of playing, but who knows? I just, the 49ers they've so many injuries, and that's when you look at the number of guys who are on IR there, it is really startling. If they were at full strength, I think it might be different. But I just think Philly at home in the playoffs, I think this will be a really low scoring game. I do. I think I'll put it this way: if the 49ers score more than 17, they'll win. But I don't think they will. I think this game ends up being a sort of a 15-12 type game. And I think that's how the Eagles will eke it out. But I think the Eagles they're really struggling on offense this year. Saquon hasn't been running the ball well. Hurts has struggled. They've had issues, with the wide receivers not being happy. It's the defense that they'll rely on, and that's the reason I think they get over the line, but I think they fall over the line. I don't see them being as scary against the Rams or the Seahawks, who are just not as beaten up as this 49ers team.
Yeah, the Eagles, so their last 4 games, they went 3-1. Same with the 49ers. The Eagles had the Raiders, which is their big offensive output, but that's, of course, the Raiders. So to your point, they did get 29 against Washington, and then they scored 13 against Buffalo, which was another win, 13-12, close game. This could be something like that again. And then they lost to Washington 24-17, but not sure if I don't remember if they were playing anybody in that game. I think they were happy with where they were. And then the 49ers, they had this 4-game win streak, but it was Cleveland, Tennessee, Indianapolis with Phillip Rivers, I think. And then the aforementioned Bears, 42-38. 49ers went off and put some points on them. Like to see the Packers do that today. And then, of course, they lost to Seattle in that last game, 13-3. Again, it's hard to judge what. Now, I think the 49ers had something to play for there, didn't they, in that last week? I can't remember. So that was a disappointing loss for them.
It was.
I tend to agree with everything you said here. Let's see. Home record. Eagles are 5-3 at home this year. I think it's going to be a crazy environment. I think it will. I think the 49ers know that what they're walking into there. And certainly the Eagles are favored. A pretty big spread, 6-point spread. So I think most people would pick Philadelphia here. They took the East. Not a big accomplishment when you're next. I mean, second place was 7-9 Cowboys, but they still won the East quietly. And then, we talked about the 49ers, third place in the NFC West, probably the toughest division in football. I'm going San Francisco again. I'm taking the underdog. Looks like I'm taking the underdog every time. I think the 49ers, I think they're ready for this kind of game. But when you've got a healthy McCaffrey, all those other injuries, I think he's the difference maker. I'm all about playmakers this week. I know that Brock Purdy's, the system quarterback or whatever people like to call him, but he's a playmaker too when he needs to be, and he can run around and make some plays. He hasn't had his best season, but he was out for a while this year. He's got 20 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Hurts is generally underrated. He's got 25 TDs and 6 interceptions. On paper, this looks like an Eagles win. Give me the 49ers, going with my heart. And it's a Shanahan coach team, so as a Bronco, I'm rooting for them as well. So any final thoughts? 49ers Eagles.
I think there could well be a couple of skirmishes in this one. So
right,
you'll hear the commentators say this is not what we want to see. It is what we want to see.
Yeah, everybody wants to see that. It's like watching a hockey game and complaining about the fights. So all right. Well, I guess we need to talk about probably the most impactful game, or could be, because the Chargers are going on the road to play the Pats, the hated Chargers, but they're the 7th seed, Colum, and that means, for everybody that doesn't know, and I'm sure that's none of our viewers because our viewers are so educated, the 7th seed, as the Broncos are the top seed, the number 1 seed, we get the lowest seed out of all these games. Whichever lowest seed wins will come to Denver next weekend. This game is one that we'll all have to watch. And I have thoughts on this game, and I can't wait to hear yours. This is in New England. Looks like it's going to be about 20 to 30 degrees. Doesn't look like any snow or anything like that right now. I think the Pats are favored, but it's like 3.5. So it's basically a wash since their home field advantage. I think this could be a really close, tough game. I think the Chargers are built really well for the playoffs when healthy. They're built for cold weather games with a tough run game and a tough defense. The problem with the Chargers is their O-line. They've just had the worst luck with their O-line, starting in the offseason where they lost their best offensive tackle and then losing 2 other tackles. They're playing with 3rd string tackles and I think a 2nd or 3rd string guard. Justin Herbert is going to get pounded in the playoffs. The one thing that you have to give Justin Herbert, as much as it pains me to say it, is that he has been making some incredible plays to keep this team moving. They're very hard to get off the field when he gets hot. What are your thoughts on this game? What do you see? This is a big, big game for the Broncos this weekend.
Yeah, huge implications in this one, obviously, because were the Chargers to win on the road, then they would come to Mile High, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I suppose a lot of the focus on this has been about Herbert and Drake May, and that's who the media is going to fixate on, and there'll be narratives no matter what way it goes, right? If May loses, then he hasn't beaten anyone of note, because he had a hand in designing the schedule, and if Herbert loses, then he
can't win a playoff game. Yeah, he's a choker.
Ignoring that it's a team game. We watched John Elway drag terrible Broncos teams through playoff games, and then he'd lose in the Super Bowl and he'd get called a choker. We could have had 15 men on the field
Yeah.
against the 49ers in that Super Bowl. It wouldn't have mattered. So
That was a time where the NFC just dominated the
oh yeah,
AFC. It was 13 straight years that the
over a
NFC won
decade.
Super Bowls. I mean, we were just the little junior high teams playing the varsity teams for years. It took us a long time to get caught up.
I say it just to highlight that it is a team sport, and I think that's the concern. You highlighted it. It's the O-line. It's how much Herbert gets hit. He's been sacked 54 times, and that's a real problem in the playoffs. If he's running for his life, or he's getting sacks. And I think Herbert is a very, very good QB, but it's the O line that would certainly worry me. I think that the thing that probably jumps out to me is I do think Harbaugh is a very good kind of playoff coach in that he focuses players. The mindset will undoubtedly be right, but he's going up against Vrabel. And if you remember a few years ago, Vrabel is the young pup who learned some tricks from the old dog. If you remember the video of him against Bill Belichick and deliberately taking penalties, which Bill Belichick had done when Mike Vrabel was there. So he learned from it, and Belichick was losing his mind. There's two wily coaches going up against one another. You've got two very good quarterbacks going up against one another. It probably, you've got two decent backfields going up against one another as well. But I think the Patriots' run defense is a bit better than the Chargers' run defense. And I think that could be the key to this one, Mike, is if the Patriots can get their two running backs going, that could be the piece. But again, Justin Herbert is capable of making plays out of nothing. But everyone will obviously remember the Jags game, where the Chargers managed to charger it up. And you said the worst luck with injuries. That's just seems to happen to the Chargers year in, year out, unfortunately.
And is Henderson on IR, or is he? Do I have the wrong running back? TreVeyon Henderson, the running back for the Patriots. He's got 911 yards. Am I confusing him with someone else? Did he get injured?
No, he's okay. They have Gibson is their running back who's on IR, but Henderson and Stevenson, are both good to go.
Well, then, it's interesting. You've got a team much like the Broncos and the New England Patriots, second-year quarterback, quote unquote, overachieving, quote unquote, easy schedules. And it's kind of true, right? But like you said, Drake May drew that up and made his own schedule, which is, just this. That's the funny thing about that. You play who's in front of you. But two things can be true, which I hate using that line now because it gets overused now a little bit. But in this case, I'm going to use it. They did have an easy schedule, but they're a good football team. Like it doesn't mean that they're not really good. It just means, they had an easier schedule, but they did take advantage of it and won the games they should win. They won 14 games this year. Drake May's got 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He's played lights out. It looks like just a really, really great quarterback for them. Good for the Patriots. As a Denver fan, you want the Patriots out there. You want the Steelers out there. You want those teams. Certainly not the Chiefs. I don't like that. I don't like anybody from my division being out there. But it's we come from. We win Super Bowls by going through the Patriots. There's a lot of history there. I love that stuff. Same with Pittsburgh. But in this case, I think that I think New England's a good football team. I think they're a really good football team. I think they're really well coached by Vrabel. I hate the Chargers. I'm not sold on their ability to protect Justin Herbert enough in the playoffs for him to superhero his way through a win at Foxborough. I don't know if they call it Foxborough. It's Gillette. Okay, I'm getting old. I've got the Pats here. I think it's just too much. I think Herbert's going to be on his butt a lot on this game, and I just don't know that they can keep up with these Pats. I guess I should look at their last few games here if I can find it, just to kind of get a sense. This is interesting to me. The Patriots. What do we got here? They're 1, 2, 3, 4. Their last 5 games, they scored 33, 31, 28, 42, 38. If that's not an offense on fire, I don't know what is. And that was against, again, not the toughest competition, but they did play the Bills, 35-31, very close game. They played at Baltimore, the Jets. Okay, that was 42. They got the Jets. And then the Dolphins, who I thought played them kind of tough at first, and then they just went and blew them out. And then on the flip side, you've got the Chargers, who were on a 6-game win streak for a while. They won at overtime against Philly, so that's a good win. They beat Mahomes at Kansas City in a super physical game. They were just knocking KC players out. About every 3 plays, you'd see a Kansas City Chief getting dragged off the field. Harbaugh's got these guys playing really, really hard. But then they dropped that Houston game, which essentially gave us the AFC West, and then lost with their scrubs playing at Denver, where they were just giving away the game. So trying to get healthy. They'll be a little healthier, but I don't think it'll be enough, Colum. I don't think with that O-line, I give them a low chance to win this game. And honestly, I hope the Chargers do lose this game, because I don't like the matchup with Broncos Chargers. I would love for them to come to Denver and beat them and have those bragging rights all year. I would love that personally, but I mean, honestly, I don't want to see the Bills or the Chargers. I guess if I had to pick between the two, I would take the Chargers in Denver. But I don't think they beat the Pats. I think the Pats take care of business at Gillette Stadium.
I see Rory has a comment there that he makes a fair point that this Chargers team is 2 years on from the Brandon Staley, the debacle of their loss to the Raiders, where they celebrated getting first downs, if we remember that. And yeah, look, I think you Sean Payton and Harbaugh deserve kudos. And I think if the Chargers were a little bit healthy, or I'd have, more belief in them. It would not be a shock. I think the Panthers beating the Rams would be a shock. Yeah,
that's the only shock game for me.
That's the only shock, right? Yeah. It wouldn't be a shock at all if the Chargers were to win this.
No.
But no. I do think the Patriots at home. I think you've also seen the Diggs arraignment has been put back until after the Super Bowl, so that's a distraction that they don't have to worry about. And I think as much as as Broncos fans, we might not like them. The reality is that Foxborough is pretty raucous, and having that home advantage does make a difference, particularly in the playoffs. And so I think they edge it. And I think the Chargers will continue to build under Harbaugh. But I think the Patriots at home, they'll just about have too much.
Yeah, I agree. Diggs has got a 1,000-yard receiver there. McConkey on the flip side, almost 800 yards. Dangerous little receiver, though. He can cause some trouble. He's got great rapport with Herbert. I like the rushing game better for the Patriots, and certainly Drake May I'll take over Justin Herbert 7 days out of 7. Dre's got 4,400 yards passing, essentially 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Herbert's still dealing with a fractured left hand, I believe, and that sucks, honestly, for him. That's got to be tough for him taking a snap with a broken hand. I mean, if you've ever had to deal with a broken bone, I had a broken bone in my right elbow that even when the cast was off, every time you took an impact there for a long time, you just always feel it. And so he's dealing with a lot of pain there. So hats off to Herbert for being a fighter. And I'm with you. I wouldn't be shocked either way. If the Chargers win or it's a close game or if it's a blowout, either way, like nothing would really surprise me in this game. We have to pick one. I definitely take the Pats at home, though, to get this one done. And I think we've got one more game left here, don't we? That could, depending on how these games go, if the favorites win, so if the Pats beat the Chargers and the Bills drop one, that's the 5 and that's the 7 and 6 seeds, and that would bring up the Texans and the Steelers. Now, this game, Texans are the 5 seed, I believe.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't have it in front of me. Let me get this up here. This game is another coin toss game. I'm sure Houston's favored by a little bit. Yeah, it looks like 3 points. And it's another one of those games where you've got a 12-5 team going on the road to play a 10-7 team at home. So I agree with you that if you win your conference, then you're a champion. So you got to come play us. You didn't take care of business at home. Jacksonville was second in the South at 12-5 behind the Jags. Interesting game. Implications certainly if, like I said, if the favorites win, Colum, we could have the Texans, or if there's a God in heaven, which of course there is, because I'm Catholic, we get to see the Pittsburgh Steelers in Denver. I mean, this game could be, and it's the last game. It's Monday night. So we could be watching this game as a Broncos fan with I'd be happy with either one of these teams coming to Denver. To be honest with you, I would much prefer the Steelers, but we don't want that anything to do with that Texans defense. I see it on your face. The whole world sees it on your face. I'm just saying, for me personally, I think Sean Payton knows how to beat some teams. Now, the Chargers and the Bills, they have a way of playing a game that Sean doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to play a shootout. He doesn't want to play a 35-34 game. He wants to play a 18-17 game or a 14-20 game. That's what he wants. I don't know if that's going to work in the playoffs. But anyways, before we get into that, we'll get into that next week when we know who we're playing. Today, this game, Texans, Steelers, young gun versus a 42-year-old quarterback and Mike Tomlin. What are your thoughts on this one? What do you think are the keys to that game?
Well, there's a streak going one way or another because the Steelers have won 23 straight Monday night games,
Okay.
right? So they're
Okay.
delighted they'll be playing on Monday night. That streak goes all the way back to 1991. But they've also lost 6 straight playoff games. So what
Since streak,
something
something's
has to
got to
give.
give. Yeah.
Um Rogers has lots of experience, and so he certainly won't be overwhelmed. It seems DK Metcalf will be back, but this could have been the Ravens had the rookie kicker not missed a 44 yard field goal. This would be the Ravens,
Mm.
and I look, this is all really about the Texans defense. I think what you're going to try, what I imagine may well happen is it's going to be very much quick pass from the Steelers. They're going to look to get that ball out because Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, my goodness, do they get to the QB, and and at 42 on a Monday night, it's not going to be warm in Pittsburgh. If you're getting hit repeatedly by those guys, it doesn't matter how good your career has been, that's going to hurt, and that's going to be an issue. So I expect you'll see, a quick pass offense from the Steelers, but D'Amico Ryans has this Texans team. They love playing for him. You can see the way they
Mhm.
respond to him, and I just don't think the Steelers will have enough offensively. I think this will be a real kind of trench warfare game. I don't know if either team will get to 20 points. I would certainly prefer to face the Steelers. I don't think that the Texans are great offensively, but defensively they are legit. They are scary. They hunt in packs, and they absolutely fly to the ball. They are really something special to watch. Like football, Mike, it's about more than just the highlights, right? It's about more than just the big splash plays. If you're somebody who enjoys the game, I loved watching Jalen Carter wreck the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I thought it was fascinating to watch. I think this Texans defense is incredible to watch. Also, they're so much fun. It's how you want defense to be played, and I think that you need grit, you need determination, and you need big cojones to go in to Pittsburgh and take it away from Aaron Rodgers and from Mike Tomlin. I think they have that.
Texans' last 5 games, they're undefeated. They've beat Kansas City, the Cardinals, the Raiders. The good win here against the Chargers. Like I said, important win for the Broncos. That was a 20-16 game. I see this game playing out something like that, 20-16. I think the Texans can put up 20 points on the Steelers and can hold them to under 20 points. So I've got the Texans here taking care of business against the Steelers. The Steelers had kind of an easy go toward the end of the season, giving them like they weren't gifted a playoff berth because they had to beat the Ravens in that crazy finish game against Baltimore. That I don't know. Say what you want. Maybe is what Jim or John Harbaugh would still be working right now if not for a missed field goal, right? So what a crazy game, 26-24 Baltimore. There was like 4 lead changes in about 2 minutes worth of TV time. What a nutsy game. You never know what's going to happen in this game. I do like the fact what you said about Aaron Rodgers. he's going to be unfazed. He definitely looks to me a lot of the time like he doesn't really care one way or the other. He just gets angry about things, but other than that, but I think he's going to be. Now this is playoff football, so he's going to be up a notch. He's going to have a little more Aaron Rodgersy type plays this game. He's going to be looking for Metcalf on some big plays. I don't know that he'll have time to hit him deep, but they're going to try and set something up to make that happen. I see, but I mean, you can't deny, the Texans defense. They are favored in the game. I guess I'll go Texans. Yeah, like I said, like a 20-16 win. Unfortunately, I would love to see the Steelers come to Denver, but I don't see it happening here. I wouldn't be shocked either way. But if I see anything other than a 17-14 win by the Steelers or something like that, like if the Steelers were to win, I don't think it's going to be 35-7. It's definitely going to be a closer game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your point about coaches, these players still love to play for Tomlin too. So I think that might be kind of a wash on the coach having players fired up.
Yeah, look, they do, and again, Mike Tomlin has a phenomenal record there. Some interesting stuff coming out about whether he'll be back next year, and if he is to be back, what that might look like. You and I, Mike, we've talked about this before. I think anything you hear, take with a truckload of salt, because people are putting it out there. But no, look, both of these guys, they're very different, right? And Tomlin is a bit like Yoda in the press conferences with stuff he comes out with, but no, his players clearly love playing for him. It's just so visceral with D'Amico Ryans, and you can see it. But you're right. Tomlin will have his guys fired up and going out in front of the terrible towels. There will be definitely pressure on the Texans coming into this, and the Steelers have lots of experience.
I've got a question for you from Gary. Now that we've gone through the weekend. Oh wait, you're picking the Texans, right?
I'm picking Texans.
Yeah,
all
right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you out of here without knowing who your picks are. We got to get this on record. I know I'm going to lose this pick round, taking a bunch of underdogs, but that's my heart as a Broncos fan, hoping maybe my hopium. I would love to take the Steelers here, but I can't even do that. Gary says, he asks, if the Packers lose, what are your thoughts on rumors of Harbaugh going to the Packers? I've seen these. I guess the idea going around is that Harbaugh is not going to commit to anything until certainly after this weekend, when there could be some changes from one and done, or not one and done, but you get to the playoffs and then you're out. Packers being one of those, there's talk about Matt LaFleur losing his job if they don't get it done this year in the playoffs. What are your thoughts on that, Matt LaFleur, and how would you feel about the Packers getting John Harbaugh up there?
Okay, so a couple of things on that, I suppose. I think it would be it would be somewhat harsh on Matt LaFleur in terms of what he has done in Green Bay, where he had to deal with Aaron Rodgers, and really it wasn't until Rodgers left Green Bay that we saw all of the off-field antics come to the fore. So he kept a pretty good lid on that. He's only had one losing season during his time there, and this year, they got Micah Parsons. They were flying, and then Parsons got injured, and they haven't looked quite the same since. Jordan Love has had a couple of injuries this year, and he's managed to win games with Malik Willis. So I do think it would be harsh. I think if they decide to move on, I think he would get a job immediately anywhere. Another head coaching job. I do believe that, and I think he's, if you say were to look at the kind of McVay tree, I think Matt LaFleur is a better head coach than Mike McDaniel, for instance.
Yeah.
That like all, and I say that like with, sometimes people always say, careful what you wish for and don't move off it. I don't always believe that either, right? Because if you look at the Broncos and John Fox, the Broncos made the right decision. John Fox could not get it done, but John Fox had Peyton Manning. He had this star-studded cast, and they would always choke. I don't think that's been the case with the Packers. And I think with the Ravens, like it's an interesting one. Teams, it felt, I suppose, it came stale. You've got a head coach, you got a QB. When a team loses like that, like, we said it, the rookie kicker makes that, he's still in a job. But when a team misses out in the playoffs, they almost want a blood sacrifice. And so Harbaugh had to be let go. I think Harbaugh is an excellent head coach. He's what, I think it's 18 years in the league, and a record of over 0.6 in terms of wins, right? So that is very, very solid, and I think it'll be interesting to see where he goes, because I think we don't know a lot of the time what happens behind the scenes, right? And I think as fans, you don't always get to know how much of a say a head coach has, with ownership and with the GM. And did they have input into the draft process, or are they just given players and told, you're the head coach, you make it work? Or and that really varies. Sean Payton has a huge amount of say in Denver, but certainly that hasn't, the Jets, that isn't the case. The Cowboys, that isn't the case, and so I think Harbaugh is probably going to want to go somewhere where he does have a fair bit of say. I don't think you spend 18 years and have the sort of record that he does without having that. I think it will be very interesting to see. Certainly this year in particular, there was plenty of talk about the strained relationship between him and Lamar. And I think you have to have your head coach and your QB on the same page if you're to be successful in the playoffs. You can get away with it in the regular season. Okay. Yeah. There are plenty of examples of that. LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, Manning and John Fox, Elway and Dan Reeves. But if they're not on the same page when it comes to the playoffs, that's where you run into problems. It seems like the Giants are going all out to get Harbaugh.
Yeah.
But will he want to work with Joe Shane? That will be a fascinating one to keep an eye on. And yeah, if you are John Harbaugh, you are definitely keeping your powder dry. I would have thought to truly assess, right? Because there will be some teams that lose, especially in the wild card, that might say, yeah, we're going to move on. Even in the divisional, who say they might want to move on. And I think you see that a little bit with, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and coaches, where there's kind of these moving chess pieces, right? If Vance Joseph gets a head coaching job, well, that opens the defensive coordinator position with the Broncos. So there are an awful lot of moving parts, but ultimately, I think Matt LaFleur is a very good head coach. I think John Harbaugh is an excellent head coach. And I think were he to end up with the Packers, he's steeped in the history of the game. Although he did not know. I don't know if you saw that video where they asked all of the NFL head coaches which current NFL head coach had more rushing yards than Bo Jackson.
Yeah, and it was his brother Jim.
It was his brother, and he did not know that. But he is steeped in the history of the league. We've talked about the fact that the Packers are a franchise. They're a foundational piece. I mean, it's an incredible story. Where it is, the stadium, the fact that it's owned by the fans, all of those things add to the mystique of the Green Bay Packers. So if he goes there, I think they will be a formidable unit. But I think it would be harsh on Matt LaFleur in a season where he lost, his best defensive player and his QB has had injuries, to move on that quick and not to give him a chance. But it's the NFL. That's teams make the decisions. It's hilarious to look at the league now, right, in 2025, 2026, and compare it to where it was in the 80s and 90s, when team didn't change head coaches nearly as quickly.
I like the fit for Harbaugh in Green Bay. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a great place for him to land. Depending on what they would want to do in their front office and all the extra stuff that comes along with hiring somebody like John Harbaugh, like you said, 18 years in the league. He's kind of he doesn't need a whole lot of help. He might need some help identifying talent in the draft and getting the right players and handling the cap. But as far as coaching goes, he's about as good as it gets. I guess this firing it's either Lamar or Harbaugh. At least that's what we all would initially think. I don't know how true that is, but I do agree that after 18 years, sometimes the message can get a little stale. But I think that only comes into effect when you don't win. You can be accused of being stale, but if you're winning championship games and you're going to the playoffs, you would think, again, if he had won the game against Pittsburgh, he wouldn't be fired right now. And what if he makes it to the AFC Championship game and loses in a tough game there? Does he keep his job? When was this decision made? But back to the first point, I would like Harbaugh. I would love Harbaugh in Green Bay, but I also agree with you that I don't know that the moving on from LaFleur is warranted. He has been a fine football coach. It's just that I think Harbaugh would be a better coach. If that's reason enough, it's a cold business. It's possible it could happen. I think what would be the coolest thing and to happen out of this would be that Harbaugh takes the Packers and LaFleur takes the Ravens, and they just swap teams. And we see them in the playoffs next year. And that is entirely possible because I think LaFleur would be a great fit for the Ravens and Lamar.
It'd be fascinating if that were to happen. It just doesn't feel stale to me. And you're right. Like sometimes it just does. Like again, I go back to John Fox. Right, John Fox of the Broncos was over 0.7% in terms of winning. Right, across 4 seasons. Right, so it was not a 1-season wonder or 2-season wonder. This was a guy who finished first in the division in each of his 4 seasons, right? He got to the divisional round, like it was losses in the divisional round, and obviously then the Super Bowl. But every Broncos fan at that time felt like it was time to move on, right?
I did.
And then Kubiak comes in, right? And Kubiak wins Super. And I don't believe that the Broncos win Super Bowl 50 without Gary Kubiak. I think he's a key component to it. But Kubiak, when you look at him at Houston, he was under 500 in terms of his winning total. So fit. But Kubiak and Elway worked perfectly together, right? And so I think that's what you've got to look at. And Sean doesn't give a whole lot away a lot of the time in press conferences, but he did this week a little bit, because he talked about it when he took the job, and it needs to be the right fit. And he talked about how he wants to see his guys, like Vance and others, go on and do well. But he said I suppose cautioned that you don't take the first job that comes up. You really need to interrogate and investigate and make sure that that structure is there with ownership and with the GM and with how much of a say that you are going to have. But yeah, I think it would not be a surprise, right, if at least one of these teams that lost this weekend, if they were to make a change.
Yeah, and there's already so that we've got the Ravens, the Giants,
the Dolphins,
the Falcons, the Raiders, the Cardinals, Dolphins, Browns, Titans so far. So we've already got 8. The league average is about 7, certainly in the last, I don't know, since 2017, but it still comes in around 7 a year. As far you can go back kind of as far as you want. The candidates, it's kind of fun to look at candidates too. There's some, Harbaugh obviously leads that. Clint Kubiak's getting a lot of looks, so he would be the young hotshot coach. Kevin Stefanski, who I think was wrongly fired by just a joke of a franchise.
Yeah.
Good for him, though.
Agree.
This is honestly one of those firings where he probably, I don't know Kevin Stefanski, and I don't have anybody that knows Kevin Stefanski, so I don't know this is a fact. But if I'm him and I'm let go by that franchise that he coached up to a competitive, that was the Browns were not an easy out this year. Like, he had that team playing for him in a lot of games. I thought that was a terrible fire by the Cleveland Browns, which still doesn't surprise me at all, because they're just a trash franchise. I think this is a great thing for Kevin Stefanski. I think he lands somewhere more of his choice. Jesse Minter's an interesting candidate. Isn't he the DC for the Chargers, I believe, or is it the Seahawks? I think he's Chargers. Minter, he's a great defensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy's name is being thrown around. You've got your Brian Flores, your Robert Saleh, of course, Vance Joseph. And then there's just a litany of, including Broncos quarterback coach, who is getting a head coach interviews. I mean, I like Davis Webb fine. But yeah, that's just crazy to me. He hasn't even been an OC yet.
Yeah, it would be an enormous jump, I think.
Yeah.
Now, look, I do think teams need to get better at the way in which they evaluate candidates, because being a coordinator is very different to being a head coach, and that the skill set involved is different. It can work, but it's not always necessarily true that the best offensive coordinator or the best defensive coordinator makes the best head coach, and definitely need to
I like messing you up by messing with the screen while you're making your point. Trying to throw you off. Ladies and gentlemen, Colum is such a professional. He just keeps driving. I just had to back out for a second.
I believe, and maybe if there's anyone watching, or maybe you may know, Mike, but I believe Pete Carroll is the first ever head coach to go one and done in 2 franchises.
I think I heard that somewhere too. So you're probably right. I think I read that.
I had
one and done with the Patriots, was it?
No, it was one and done with the Jets.
The Jets, I meant, yeah. It was the Jets, and he had to be. Now, I called this way early in the season. I had a tweet out where I was comparing him to Nathaniel Hackett, of all people. But Nathaniel Hackett actually had a better record and was doing better than Pete Carroll did in that season. And Hackett was fired before the season was over. And I said, there's no way Pete Carroll survives this. And people were telling me I was crazy, that he's a Hall of Fame coach and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you can't have a season like this and keep it going. Now the Raiders are paying 4 head coaches. They've had 5 coaches in 5 years. They're in trouble. Rory comes back again. He's our guy today. It's lovely to have.
Rory's a good guy.
Yeah, Roy's. It's lovely to have you in here. Harbaugh for Raiders, please. Rory, I just got a notification. He just followed me on Twitter. If he goes to my profile and scrolls down to when Harbaugh was fired, the first thing I put up was Raider over that tweet. I did say that too. I think it would be awesome for Harbaugh to go to the Raiders in the same conference against his brother. You've got Shanahan. Good God. You've got Sean Payton. You've got 2 Harbaughs and Andy Reid in one, holy coaching powerhouse conference. I'm here for it. I love it. It doesn't help the Broncos any, but my gosh, what a deal that would be. Now, the problem with that, Rory, they had the number 1 pick. They probably will take Mendoza. Same division as his brother. He could turn franchise in 2-3 years. AFC West would be killer division. I agree with every bit of that. That certainly would be something we would talk about on the Spin Zone, our other channel. Make sure you guys check out the Spin Zone on NFL. We get into that. Go ahead.
Just to say, like, what's fascinating on the one and done stuff is it was pretty common in the 70s, Mike, and then it like there was one instance of it happening in the 80s, the 84 Vikings, right? It happens occasionally.
Who was that? Was it right before Zimmer?
Les Steckel in 84.
Okay.
And
84, that's way back.
It happens a few times in the 90s, not a huge number. There's 5 instances throughout the 90s. From 07 it begins to pick up a little bit of pace, and then since 2021 you have had at least one instance of it. You had Urban Meyer in 21, you Dave Culley with the Texans, you had Hackett and Lovie Smith both in 2022, you had Frank Reich in 23, you had Jared Mayo and Antonio Pierce in 24, and you had Pete Carroll in 2025. That's what I mean about the league is changing. Their owners becoming more impatient. They want to move on. And it's, lots and lots of moving parts. And, again, as head coaches get appointed, some of them will be OCs and DCs, not just, retread HCs. So there'll definitely be, some movement. And sometimes, people go back, like Robert Saleh is getting head coaching interviews this cycle. Obviously didn't work with the Jets, went back to San Francisco, has
nothing
been
works with the Jets
there. And then nothing works for the Jets. But it's just, it'll be interesting to see. Mike McDaniel got a call with the Titans. People can be very excited about him working with Cam Ward. I think that it will be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Well, we'll do a whole show on that on the Spin Zone, the coaching carousel. That's perfect for our other channel. This being a Broncos channel, since we're talking about coaches being fired, since 2017, there's only 1 year, and that was 2019, that an AFC West coach wasn't fired. So out of every year, an AFC West coach was fired. In 2017, it was Jack Del Rio of the Raiders, of course, and the Chargers got rid of Mike McCoy. In 2018, there were 8 coaches fired.
Both of who had ties to the Broncos at one point or another.
That's true. In 2018, there were 8 coaches fired. VJ was one of those. 2019, there were only 5 coaches fired, and that's because the AFC West took the year off and screwed up the the numbers. So then the Chargers were back in 2020. There were 7 coaches fired, and one of those was Anthony Lynn, which was just a bad hire for the Chargers anyway. I never thought that was going to work. In 2021, there were 8 coaches. That was the Gruden fire from the Raiders, and then Fangio was fired that year. So 2022 was Hackett, which was a one and done. And then 23, we had another Raiders, Josh McDaniels, another Chargers with Staley going out. Then you've got Antonio Pierce last year for the Raiders, and then this year for the Raiders, Pete Carroll. So Raiders. You got 5 Raiders coaches, and Broncos 3, Chargers 3 since 2017. So, and that's just so far. So we get a lot of movement here in the AFC West. It would be nice to. I still like Rory's comment. How I can't say I want it, Colum, but I think it would be a fun hire if Harbaugh went to the Raiders. My problem with that is I see no way that Harbaugh would put up with Mark Davis in that atmosphere. There would have to be, first of all, it would cost them more money than they probably have. And, who's going to be his GM there? How much say is Mark Davis going to have?
It'll be interesting to see, because obviously with Brady now being involved there, I think it would be kind of crazy to take it, but if Brady can convince him, and if Mark Davis is willing to really take a step back, but is he? Like these head coaches, like these owners won't do it. It's the same as Jerry Jones,
Yeah.
Jerry just refuses to take a step back, and it's the ego that drives it. They're not that interested. There's no relegation in the NFL. It is a money-making machine. So your mistakes don't really matter because it's a license to print money. And so you just toss it out next year and you go again. So yeah, it's kind of silly for the Raiders to be paying the number of head coaches they are, especially some of the guys who they did appoint. But it doesn't matter because they make so much money anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see. First of all, I don't think Jerry Jones. He doesn't care whether he wins or loses. He just wants money. But then he goes on record this week saying he wants to retire or die being the winningest owner in NFL history, and he would have to pass Kraft to do that. He's got a long ways to go, and he's 80-something years old. So good luck with that, Jerry. Last thing on the coaching stuff I've got for you. There's been a little talk about, and we forgot. I want to get my guy for Smiths in here. Hackett fan fave Jerry Rosburg. Doesn't go down as a firing because he was a temporary coach, but he was incredibly popular after his little run at the end of that season.
Yeah, a guy who brought in, lest we forget, because Nathaniel Hackett seemed to be, unaware that a play clock existed in the NFL.
Yeah, well, that was just, gosh, how far we've come in 3 years from the Hackett debacle with the 12th wanted coach and Sean Payton. So lucky to have Sean here in Denver. Lucky to be sitting here at the in the middle of a playoff weekend where you've got 14 teams vying to get a Super Bowl victory, and the Broncos are sitting at home waiting to see who they play. How great is that, Colum? And just in perspective, after talking about the Hackett stuff, we made the playoffs last year having to win one of 3 games, and we're lucky enough to have the Chiefs rest every single player, where we had that 38-0 win to get us into the playoffs finally. But playoffs nonetheless last year, blowout to the Bills last year. Different story this year. We've essentially already won a playoff game since we are number 1 seed. I'll take that, or at least I'll say that, even though it's not true. But just put it in perspective how incredibly difficult a situation we were in with Russell Wilson using 30% of our cap, drafting a quarterback who most NFL pundits regarded as a second round talent, not ready to play, and Sean Payton and George Payton making some solid moves, Hufanga and the like. And here we are, the number 1 seed in the AFC. How do you feel about that? Put that in perspective. Again, what a difference a couple years makes.
Yeah, it shows, I suppose, if you take tough decisions, you can go places quickly. Now, it was the right decision. And I suppose I would also say the media landscape, and we talk about this, and we'll get into this more in the off season, but people, you can check out, there are 6 episodes of the Spin Zone out there in podcast form or on YouTube, and we kind of delve into this. The media landscape isn't real, right? So what's said about Russell Wilson was ridiculous. Okay, so ripping that, he was awful in the locker room, right? And the Broncos tried to deny it at the time. Mike Purcell got in his face. The players started playing future. Like, it was absolutely toxic. Moving on from him was worth the cap hit for what it did for you. And so I think that's really, really important. And I think, again, the filmies are wonderfully entertaining. And if you want to take it at that, but they work in media. They don't work for NFL teams, right? Yeah. So their assessment of Bo Nix or Caleb Williams or whoever, it doesn't matter. It's not real. It's not the teams doing it. So to me, you know, Sean Payton has been around the league for a long time, and you know, you can say many things about him, but he knows football. He knows how to win, and he has changed the culture. Now he's been backed by the ownership group in doing that, and that's enormous. But it's the willingness to take those tough decisions. Those are the decisions, right, that the Cowboys are not willing to make, right? Where they took too long on Zeke, and then they bring Zeke back because Jerry likes Zeke, rather than in sport. Sentimentality is your worst enemy. If you rely on sentimentality, you're dead in the water. Forget about it. You have to do what's best for the team. And in fairness to Sean Payton, George Payton, they have done that. And that's why the Broncos have been able to turn around as quickly as they have.
They made tough decisions. You know, it turned out that the Russell Wilson trade was just a terrible move. But I've said this before, when when you're looking for a quarterback like the Broncos were all those years, I kept saying draft a quarterback every year until you find one, because with the way the rookie contracts are made, you can get away with that. It's not drafting a first-round quarterback and having him be a bust does not derail a team like it used to. When you did it in the old days, you were stuck with these guys because rookie contracts had to be negotiated with each player, and the number 1 pick was going to get an incredible amount of money, more than anybody else on the team probably, the day they walk on the field. It doesn't work that way anymore. Now they come in, they certainly are going to get millions of dollars, but it's not going to their rookie contracts don't do the damage they used to do. So when I would hear
the second contracts
the
do the
second
damage.
contracts are the ones that get you. Yeah. And so we'll be dealing it's a little ways away for the Broncos. This offseason will show the mistakes can be made when you have an average quarterback. Uh, it's like having a girlfriend that you she's not the one, but you don't necessarily want to break up with her either, and so you run out of things to do, and you just get married. That's what
It's
a second
the
contract is like.
the inability to make the tough decision and relying
Yeah,
on sentimentality. The Dolphins did it with Tua.
yeah,
The Cardinals did it with Kyler Murray. If you if you know you the Cardinals had been willing to move off of Josh Rosen to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was fine on the rookie contract, not so much on a second contract. Same with Tua. And I do think that in the fullness of time, like you will see teams really evaluate that second contract, and I don't think you'll see them handed out as readily as they have been in the past. I think teams will really dig in, and they will want guys to show that they got the top QBs will still make the money, but I think you will see a lot more kind of move on, and we're beginning to see that with Baker Mayfield, with Sam Darnold. But it's funny, right, with the Russell Wilson thing. Russ got traded, right? He's no longer on the Seahawks or the Broncos, but the Broncos and the Seahawks are both the number one seed.
Number one seed. So the way to get the number one seed is to trade away Russell Wilson. So someone should sign him this offseason and then immediately trade him for anything, and you will get the number one seed the next year. That's just the rules. I don't make them. Roy says you could do a full show on bad quarterback contracts, and Colum just stole what I was going to say about Tua in Miami. It's such a tightrope. Yeah, I like his point. I like your point, Colum, about sentimentality. That's exactly what it is. It's like he's our guy. He's not great. But gee, we'd hate to see him leave. Let's sign him to a gazillion-dollar contract and absolutely bet the farm that he's going to make that leap. And they don't normally make that leap at that point in their career. Sam Darnold is an exception, but he had to go to another team and another system and another coach to do that. If you're going to see that sort of jump from a player like Tua, I guess I never saw it. You're right. I think maybe you can't set your team back that far to sign a mediocre quarterback to a huge quarterback contract. It just hamstrings you.
It's safe decisions. It's not making the bold decisions. You have to be bold in order to be successful. You have to be willing to roll the dice on it. It's easy. You know the guy. You know what his strengths and limitations are. So, we'll just sign him and we'll work around it. No, you got to roll the dice on it.
I agree. And Roy, just so you know, Colum and I will be doing a full show on the spin zone, with all the ownership versus coaches changes that went on this year. We'll get into that. And then I guess we might do some of this too. I do know that David Talks Broncos and I will be doing a Monsters show on all the quarterbacks, breaking them down, like who we rank the highest, who shouldn't get a contract, who did get a contract that maybe shouldn't. So all that's coming up here on the Mile High Monsters. Make sure you catch Colum on the Dublin to Denver podcast with Stuart Roche, one of the best Broncos podcasts in the world. I'll say it's the best. It's the best podcast, as this is the best YouTube show. We're still working on the spin zone. We're slow playing that one. That's going to be a real big off-season show for us. That's where everything happens. On the spin zone. It's hard to have time to get into all that stuff during the season because we're just going game to game and game to game. And spin zone is more of a investigative journalism, looking deep dive stuff. Real excited about what we're going to do this year. So look forward to that. If you are watching this show on the Mile High Monsters, please get over to Spin Zone. Check it out. I'll put the link in the description. this is where Colum can really shine. Thanks for everybody that watched today. Good viewership today for a live stream. I love seeing that, and nice to have Rory and Mr. Smith in the comments. Great show, gents. Enjoy your playoff weekend. Appreciate it as always, Rory, and of course my guy Tanner. Great show, fellas. I think it was too, Colum. Colum just got off a plane. Literally got off a plane. Came from here in the States, did a full tour of Death Valley and the Grand Canyon and had a great time, and threw his bags on the floor and changed his shirt, and we pushed the button to go. So Colum, any last words to everyone on the Mile High Monsters? Anything you want to talk about, plug, or any last thoughts maybe we didn't cover about these games?
I think this is the best time of the year for football. I mean, it's fun and exciting when it comes back in September, but this is real football. The games matter. It's win or go home, and everything's on the line. That ramps it up. So I love the next month, and as you said, Spin Zone will be back in March. I think probably by the time we get it, but there are 6 episodes out there at the moment. You can check it out, get a taste of it, and we have big plans for the off season. It is a slow burn. It is something that we really want to delve into. And if you have ideas for things that you might like us to cover, to get in touch. You can find both Mike and I over on Twitter or across social media. Comment on YouTube, get in touch with us, and we'll be digging into stuff. But I think there'll be a lot to look forward to in the months to come.
Yep. And shout out to Gary for the question on Harbaugh. It kind of got us into, this was going to be about an hour show, and we went 45 minutes long because we started getting into some of this big stuff that we like to get into on the Spin Zone. And as far as Mile High Monsters goes, it is the fastest growing show in Broncos country of all the YouTube programs. We are growing at an incredible rate, Colum. So happy that you're a part of it. So happy that David Talks Broncos and Let's Talk Broncos, Zach Seegers, are a part of this. We had a goal of 1,500 subscribers by the end of the season. We're not even at the end of the season. We're at 1,775 now, so we've exceeded it by a couple hundred. And now we're shooting for 2,000. Who cares? Shoot for the moon.
Kudos, Mike. Well deserved.
Well, it's just because I bring on great co-hosts. It has nothing to do with me. I don't do any of the heavy lifting on this show, guys. I just sit here and look good. Marquee Sports chimed in last week just to say that I have great hair, and that made my day. Of course, I said it was on Twitter, and I just said it was a wig, but it's not. It's what I have left. And Colum, thank you again. Welcome home. Glad you made it. Glad you had a great trip. We will catch up with you guys on Mile High Monsters tomorrow. I'll do a preview show tomorrow on a couple games specifically. I think I might do one just on the Chargers-Pats game. I probably want to do a deep dive on that. Colum, I don't know your schedule. Maybe I'll have Colum back on the show. We'll talk about that later. But until then, I will see. And then again, Monsters will be on Sunday night after the last games, because the Broncos will know who they're playing, and I'll have Zach Seegers and David on for that one as we do. So all you guys that watch the post-game shows every week, which is a lot of you, we will be doing a post-game show on Sunday night, going over and predicting, how that's going to work, as we'll know our opponent. So until then, Colum, if you don't have any other words, I guess there's go Broncos. We finish with that. We might as well go. Let me see. Let me think this out though, real quick. Gosh, go Bills. Go Pats. I don't know, man. Go Pats. Go Jags. Go Pittsburgh. And then we get Pittsburgh at home next week. We're going to end with that, guys. What better could it be, right? Isn't that the perfect recipe for us?
Yes, and if the teams that we predicted to win don't win, come back and tell us how and why we got it wrong.
Yeah, please do leave a comment, like and subscribe if you get a chance. Until tomorrow, I'll say goodnight for Colum, and go Broncos, everybody.